Hi guys, today I have my special friend Jordan Younger here. She is the founder of meditation platform The Quantum Method, the host of the Balanced Blonde podcast. She is a mother to baby Atticus, and she is a wife, an incredible friend and powerhouse, and I'm just so excited to do this. And we're like
excited.
Half catching up at the same time.
I know. Well, that's the best part about this is it's not going to feel like a podcast at all. So everybody listening, it's just like you're hanging out on the couches with us.
Yeah, it's so
I'm so
nice.
happy to be here.
I'm so happy you made this and made the time for me in your busy schedule.
Of course. Can I just say I'm so proud of you because ever since we met, you have been talking about, I really want to start a podcast.
Yes.
I feel so passionate about podcasting.
That's so
since
true.
Day one. And now you're launching in a beautiful place, like top of the line.
I can't believe it.
Happen. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much for saying that. That's so sweet of you. And do you remember when we were in Ibiza together and actually you were the first person I asked about podcasting? I was like, How does it work? How is it? And then you said to me, I would love to have you on mine.
Yes.
And I was like, yay.
I know. And you were like, really? And I'm like, of course. Like everything you're doing is phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
I remember where we were sitting, even when we had that conversation.
In Formentera.
Yes.
Yes.
So special. I love it.
That was such a nice trip.
Something on my lips. It was so nice. I want to go back.
I know. And just being around you and Jonathan and Jenna, you are just such expanders to everyone around you. I just feel like you're just the best energy and I'm really grateful for you. So I'm excited to go all in on everything. You are just the most multifaceted human being. There's just so many strings to your bow. I seriously don't even know where to start. But let's go back to when you had your food blog. That's kind of where it all started. So take us back to where it began.
Yeah, let's do it. So that was 11 years ago. I was actually reflecting on that on the way here on the drive because I don't go on a lot of people's podcasts often. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Something that, well, we can get into this, but way back when I was diagnosed with Lyme, I had to make some decisions in my life, which looked like, what do I have energy for? What do I have space for? Well, I don't go on a lot of podcasts. That was like kind of one of the things that I decided. Wow. But I always go on friends' podcasts. So this is extra special.
Oh, thank you.
But I was reflecting on that on the way here, that it's been 11 years since I started the Blonde Vegan, the vegan food blog. That was the original name of my brand. And it was just for fun. It was back in the day before anyone was blogging for a living, except for some fashion bloggers, but no food bloggers. So I was in college. Wow. So unlike you, this was the only job I've ever had, which like, I love your story of all your jobs that you've had. I was in college. I started this blog and then I moved to New York and was going to grad school for creative writing and getting my master's. Wow. And so my whole family was like, when you get to New York, don't blog. Like, the blog's taking so much of your time. The blog is just a hobby. Make sure you focus on school. And I was like, no, of course, I promise. Like, it's just for fun.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I got to New York and the only thing that I ever wanted to focus on was the food blog. And then, like, it's turned into what it is today, which is not a food blog, but it is the core audience.
Yeah.
It's the same core messaging.
And the writing is such a key part, I think, for you have such a loyal and cult community and following. And I feel like your creative writing is so intrinsic in that.
The writing is where my passion has been. So thank you for saying that. Thank you for recognizing that, because when I first started blogging about food, I was trying to follow the formula of all the other food bloggers, which was just post about the recipe and that's it.
Yeah.
Make it like 300 words, maybe make it kind of cute and quirky with some photos.
Yeah.
But I was writing paragraphs upon paragraphs saying, this is my life and this is what I'm doing this weekend. And this was back
Wow.
in the day in 2013. And so quickly, I was just writing all this detail to the point where I would receive emails from, okay, let me start all over there. I was going to say listeners, but they were not listeners, they were readers. So I would start to receive a lot of messages and emails from people who were reading the blog, and they would say, I feel like I know you. This is so fun. I feel like you're my friend and we have all this stuff in common.
Yeah.
And I quickly started writing all about these lifelong gut issues that I had, stomach issues, being sensitive, being spiritual, my love for yoga. And I do feel like back then, it really, really did set the blog apart because I was a writer, like you said, and that's always the cornerstone.
Yeah, and you were letting people really in on your everything.
Totally.
And being vulnerable as well.
Yes.
And I think that's it's funny. I was talking to one of my friends and she was saying, oh, you know, the key to meeting someone new and connecting with them is just being a little bit vulnerable. And I think you're so vulnerable on social media and so open. And I just think that that really sets you apart. So I can see that that was like the common thread.
Thank you. Yes. And I would talk about anything, and I still do. And you know this. I mean, I'm probably too open. You know, I share everything. No. I'm like, la, 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 la. People know all about my dad and like the fights that we have. But like, I've always just shared everything.
Yeah.
And so back in the day when I was doing that on the blog, I think people were surprised because there's like this girl who was called the blonde vegan who's talking about having stomach issues and these undiagnosable rashes, and all of that ended up leading to many years later being diagnosed with Lyme.
So what age were you when you started feeling these issues?
Okay, so I was 22 when I started the blog, and I started feeling a lot of subtle symptoms from now what I know is Lyme back when I was like 15, but they were very subtle. So
what were they?
It would be very sensitive stomach. The whole joke in my family was Jordan's just so sensitive. She can't eat anything that everybody else can eat, but nobody knew there were such deeper layers to that. So there was that. I would get these unexplainable rashes and hives all over my body. Sensitivities like fatigue. I went from having so much energy all the time to then in my early 20s just being really tired and never understanding why. And so I was always seeking to heal these things with food.
Wow.
And that's why I became so passionate about being plant-based at the time and cutting, salt out and oil. At that time, I tried everything before I ever knew what it was. And then when I moved back to LA, when I was 24, that's when things really started to act up. And it's because I was living in a home that had black mold. And I had no idea.
Wow.
So to live in a home with toxic black mold, it can ignite something like Lyme disease that has been dormant in your body. So that's what happened.
So it brought it out.
So I'd been living with it and just kind of managing the symptoms, having no idea.
Also, if you've always experienced those mild symptoms, you don't know any different. So
exactly. I'm like, everybody feels this way. I guess I'm just not very tolerant to pain. That's what I would think. Like, everybody must feel this way, and they just push past it. I had no idea.
Wow.
I had no idea.
And that's when you started experimenting with food.
Yes. So that goes all the way back to when I was like 11, though, because the stomach issues date way back to basically when I was born, which is a whole other topic of like, are people born with something like Lyme disease? I think so.
Yeah.
But also just a sensitive person on top of it.
Yeah.
So when I was 11, I was trying to go gluten-free and vegetarian way before there were options, way before there were trendy restaurants and products.
Because even now I feel not everywhere has those options. So
definitely not.
Then.
Yeah. And I loved it. I was like, I'm vegetarian and I need gluten-free bread and all this kind of stuff, because I was always seeking to try to heal in this holistic way, even way before I knew what that meant.
You are someone that is so true to themselves, and you really, I mean, I would say you're really inspiring in that sense, because you don't change depending on who you're around, and you really just are who you are. Have you always been like that? And have you loved what are you what's your human design?
I'm a reflector.
Oh, you're a reflector.
Yeah, so I'm basically the opposite. I mean, I know there's no such thing as opposites in human design,
Yeah.
but the opposite of you as a generator, because you and Jonathan, you are these self-generated motors who have so much energy as long as you feel lit up and passionate. And us reflectors, we're so different than that.
Okay, tell me everything about being a reflector.
Okay,
I'm fascinated
if you're
by
thinking of a human design chart, and you can picture your chart where you have all the different colored in centers and gates, I'm sure you have all these different beautiful fill-ins, which are kind of like aligning with the chakras in some ways. Mine is completely open. Mine is blank. So if I pulled up my chart and showed you, you would go, whoa, like it looks like a ghost. And that means that when I'm with people, I really feel their energy on such a deep level. And I can either soak it in, which can be positive when I'm with people who expand me, who inspire me. And as long as I know how to kind of cut that off when I get home. Otherwise, I'm still bouncing off the walls and stimulated after a late dinner or a party. I'm like, how can people go to bed after this? I know. I'm like, I feel everything forever. And reflectors, we need a lot of alone time. So whereas generators and all of the energy types often thrive on being with people, I love being with people and I'm pretty extroverted, but I need to be alone to think. I need to be alone to process. And that's when I really get my downloads and channelings. And then reflectors are the mirror. So if we're doing our job properly, then we're clear enough where we can reflect the person that we're with back to themselves. And then there's a misaligned reflector, which would be like my dad, for example. He's a reflector. Love him. He's the best. But he's never lived like a reflector. And I don't think he's like properly mirroring people back to themselves. So learning about my human design like 6 or 7 years ago from Jenna, shout out to our incredible mutual friend.
She's the best.
Changed my life because I realized, oh, I'm not lazy just because reflectors are only supposed to work for 2 to 3 hours a day. There's nothing weird about me just because I feel different. And to answer your question,
just gives you such awareness knowing your human design, I think, and no judgment on yourself. And like you say before, you thought you were just lazy or you were,
or weird. Like, because that kind of goes back to your other question or the compliment that you gave me of how I'm the same no matter who I'm with, which I take as such a compliment because it takes work to show up in the world as your confident self. And it's come pretty naturally to me, but I have also had so many times in my life where I've lost it.
Really?
And I felt like, oh, I should be more like everybody else. Like
you've doubted yourself.
Yeah, I should be more like the other podcasters. I should be more like the other influencers. And I'm nothing like any of them.
Yeah.
And I love them. They're amazing. But trying to emulate someone else's energy is never going to work for anybody, but especially a reflector.
So when did you kind of have a bit of a moment where you saw that really clearly and then you thought, okay, no.
Yeah.
And then you did some self-development work on that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, last year, which we talked a little bit about when we first sat down, because that was the last time I saw you, I was struggling so much with anxiety, panic attacks, postpartum. I had my son, my amazing little Addie, who loves you so much.
I love him. He's so sweet.
And I was just reevaluating my life and struggling a lot. I had done a lot of psychedelic therapy, ketamine therapy, that awakened unprocessed, repressed memories from childhood. And it just set me on a whole tailspin.
Did it kind of doing those therapies, because I wanted to ask you about that. Do you feel it like opened a can of worms?
Mhm.
Do you? You're like,
Yes. And I could talk about psychedelics all day, but particularly ketamine opened up a can of worms that I feel for sensitive people should be broached very, very lightly. And this is
wow.
not something that I did lightly. I did 6 sessions in 3
Wow.
weeks. So looking back, had I done 1 session and then let it integrate for an entire year or 2,
Yeah.
I probably could have learned so much about myself and gone at a healthy pace. But I uncovered everything, and this is how I am. I'm very extreme, very full throttle. I'm all in. And so it really awakened so much and set me into a place where I was having a panic attack for 5 months. And
my gosh.
previously that had been unheard of for me. I did not know that that was possible. And then that really set me to reevaluate everything and think about, because everything would cause me anxiety. Showing up to host my podcast, which is my full-time job, could barely do it. Could barely do it because I felt I was living in a panic attack. And how are you supposed to hold space for people and show up as your highest version of yourself, which is my whole thing.
Everything that you do.
It's my whole, that's what I live for. So I had this kind of identity crisis, and I had to go deep within and ask myself, where's this coming from? You know, it's coming from so many places. Part of it was the childhood trauma that I had remembered and kind of had to process through therapy and a bunch of other modalities. But part of it was trying to be like everybody else. Even though I thought I had shed those layers, I really still was trying to
fit in,
operate and fit in.
Yeah.
And
that's exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah.
It's like wearing a mask all the time. So my daily work now is to accept exactly who I am, which is different, and we're all different. And so I always preface it that way. Like, just because I talk about how different I feel doesn't mean that I'm putting myself on this pedestal like I'm special because I'm different. Everybody's so special and unique. And I think that's something for all of us to wake up to.
Yeah.
But I'm different in the sense I'm so sensitive. I need a lot of downtime. I have healed from multiple chronic autoimmune conditions, which sometimes makes me feel like I'm 105 years old. I know that I've had many, many lifetimes. I channel
also gives
other
you
realms.
This superpower at the same time.
No, it's magical. And so to embrace it rather than kind of look at myself and then look at all of these other people my age who are doing a similar job, similar career, and just not compare myself.
And how did you, because feeling like maybe an outsider or different, were you nervous to kind of tell your friends and your family what you were, because as we said, there's so many different elements of you, which I just think is your superpower and it's just so special. But were you nervous that your family or friends were going to judge you and think, like question you?
I think the thing about me is that no, I never have been, because I feel like whenever I do open up about those things, everybody's like, yeah, we know. We already know, Jordan. We know that you are into all of that very out there stuff. Yeah. And it's as if those loved ones in my life saw that even before I did. Yeah. Because even with Jonathan, I'm like, do you ever feel like it's weird that you're with someone who channels aliens and all this stuff? And he's like, you were like that before we started dating. And I've always loved that about you.
Oh, he's seriously the best. We could do a whole podcast about Jonathan.
Oh, totally. He's got to come on one day. He would make everybody laugh. He does make everybody laugh so hard.
He is so funny. So there are so many things I just want to go back on. So, okay, you got diagnosed officially with Lyme disease. So then you went all in on your healing journey. And through that journey, you also realized that you were not living as your true self.
Exactly.
And do you think that enhanced your disease?
Yes. Oh, totally. Okay. Really, on a spiritual level, which we can talk about, like the physical part of Lyme and the spiritual part and the energetic part, if people are interested.
Definitely.
But on the spiritual level, it took me a long time to realize this. after being diagnosed in 2018. But I realized I wasn't living as my true self. And what that meant to me was I wasn't using my gifts in the world. And the gifts that I have are talking to these other realms and these other dimensions and angels and fifth dimensional consciousness. And this was something that I loved doing, but I had just kind of turned it off to fit in and to be like everybody else. And because it takes real discipline and focus to hone those gifts. So because I had turned them off, it was so interesting. I actually met a shaman in Ojai about 6 months before I got really sick with Lyme. And she told me, you're on a rapid spiritual awakening. You're seeing all these things. You're speaking to the fifth dimension. And if you don't start to integrate this into your body's going to get really sick. And it wasn't like a threatening thing. It was just like, you need to really take care of yourself. This is all very, very related. And so, of course, I didn't really listen. I was like 26 years old and going about my life. And she was completely correct. And it really
crazy.
Set me on a very wild path of getting diagnosed with Lyme, which was such a godsend. And finding a doctor who finally believed me, because I had been told my whole life, but especially those couple years of looking for a diagnosis, this is psychosomatic, or, you know, maybe you need depression medication, like so many things, when I had so many different physical ailments and hormonal issues, cystic acne, head to toe hives. There was a time when I was about 27 when I couldn't even lift my arm to have a glass of water off of the bedside table.
And look at you now. You're just the picture of health. It's such a inspiring, crazy turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I even remember last year, last summer, when in Ibiza?
Oh, yeah.
When you were struggling. Yeah, you were struggling then as well.
Yeah, the rashes were horrible at that time. So it's something that still flares, and something that I still feel that I will manage living in a sensitive body for the rest of my life. But I also no longer identify with having Lyme, which is good, but we can get to that part. So so
you don't kind of attach yourself to it, and it doesn't become your identity.
Exactly. Because also I know that I've come so far, and after I was diagnosed, I did everything under the sun to heal, which I know people listening, if they are sick, they're going to want to know. Like I tried all the things. I did ozone therapy, stem cells, hyperbaric chamber, every type of supplement, every type of medication, IV antibiotics, ayahuasca, psilocybin, like took my own spiritual journeys. I tried everything. And I think a combination is kind of what worked eventually. But what really worked and ultimately shifted everything was shifting my mind and shifting my mindset and coming to a place of believing and knowing I'm a healthy person. I'm getting better and better every day. And that's what it is. And that's the only thing that I will accept as my reality.
And what do you think were the tools? Did you do daily kind of practices that shifted your mindset?
Oh, yeah. So this took me so long because I was diagnosed in 2018. And then it probably wasn't until sometime during 2020 where I really had the space, as many of us did during that crazy time. And I know that was a pivotal time in your life, where I was able to reflect on everything and just think, I don't want to live this way anymore. What I actually want to do is timeline hop into a different reality. Because my big thing at that time was I really want to be a mom and I really want to have babies. And at the time, doctors were telling me, you're not in a place to do that. You're not healthy enough. You may not even be fertile because of everything that you have been through. And meanwhile, you're really sick. So take your time. That's what all the doctors were saying. And I was just so ready to actually timeline hop into a different reality. And I just decided to play around with what that meant to me. And so I started doing all of these different meditations, affirmations, mirror work, where I would look in the mirror, gaze deep into my soul, and just tell myself I'm ready to leap into a different reality, into a future self reality where I can be healthy, carry my healthy babies, and basically speed things up because I
So
knew
you
I
were
was
really
going to heal.
visualizing your healing journey, visualizing the end result and having your baby.
Yes, I just wanted to accelerate the process, and I really did. So I took many, many months from probably March 2020 until the end of that year. And around that time is when I got pregnant with Atticus.
Crazy.
First try, healthiest boy ever.
Wow.
And I only say that because
you had so many people doubting and
what all of the doctors
and what
told
you
me.
felt. Exactly. Wow. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And now you have Atticus and now another baby on the way. It's
little
just
girl.
so special. And your daily practices, you mentioned meditation, and I just want to go into your new company, which has just launched, the Quantum Method.
Yes.
So this is so exciting, and I feel like you are the perfect person to just have this type of business and really just share your gift with so many people. So tell me what made you like take the plunge and launch this business.
Thank you so much for that. It's been a long time coming because going back to when I was diagnosed with Lyme and realized I'm not using my gifts in the world in the way that I know that I'm supposed to. And I just kept getting this message, this like download from the universe. If you don't use your gifts will use you. And that's what was happening. So my body was like being put through the washing machine over and over is what it felt like. And finally, really after becoming a mom, and then after going through everything last year with the anxiety and panic and learning how to heal on so many deep levels and having to reach a new level of daily discipline with myself, because I used to be anti-discipline. I was I don't want to have a routine. I don't want to wake up at a certain time. I didn't think it aligned with my personality. Suddenly, last year, with everything that I was going through, I had no choice. I had to actually set up an entire structure for myself to do the things, to get out of bed, to get through the day, and to better my life. And to then kind of leap into that next stage of life where I could be healthy, happy again after everything I was then going through mentally that time rather than physically. Yeah. So one of those things was meditation and the other was channeling these higher dimensions. I call it fifth dimensional consciousness, which I can describe because I'm sure some of your audience is like, what? So you can just think of it like we're all here in the third dimensional realm or in the 3D. And then right above us is the 4D. That's where you can start playing with things like timeline hopping and where affirmations can get you to your future self. And then is the 5D. That's where I believe like the angels exist and people who have passed on. Okay. And then these like cosmic consciousness from other planets who pretty much just want to share love and wisdom and high vibrational feelings with us. So that's who I tap into when I meditate and also when I channel. So I just
when you say you tap into, do you feel connected to them? Do you get messages from them when you're sitting in your meditation? How does it look?
Okay, so it has looked a few different ways over time for me. But lately, what I call it is a transmission because it'll come into my head and then I just speak it. Like it kind of speaks through me and it's not me. So they'll speak through me and they'll give me messages to share or it'll be messages for me. Or sometimes it'll be very auditory. But these days, it's like really about the transmissions. So by kind of like middle end of last year, that's when I decided I'm just going to start recording these. Wow. I'm going to start recording the wisdom transmissions, less so as they come, but create discipline around it, which was my big thing. Okay. To actually sit down, put that structure and do in place. Yeah. Otherwise, it's too random. It's too spontaneous. And that's how I've been living my life, my whole life. Yeah. So I was like, let's sit down. I would take myself on these little solo trips to places like Topanga and bring my recording equipment and get into the headspace, tap into either the Akashic records or just tap into the cosmic consciousness and just invite them to speak through me.
Wow.
And next thing I knew, I had 150 recordings that
Wow.
I put into a membership platform, which is now called the Quantum Method. And it's a combination of meditations, affirmations, sometimes as basic as lucky girl affirmations, because we all need them. We love them. I was listening to them on the way here.
Definitely.
And then for people who really do want to go deeper, there's starseed channelings and there's messages from the fifth dimension and beyond.
Wow.
There's timeline hopping, pep talks. It's so fun.
I love this. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to sign up.
I know. We got to get you in there. I'm going to send you the link directly after this.
Oh, I cannot wait. And also your voice is just so soothing. And
thank you.
It's so funny because to me, you have this aura. I'm sure you've been told this so many times, but you have this aura and presence that is like, what's the word? Ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
And just when you say that you feel all these things and hear all these things, I really see that in you, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I love that. There's no better feeling than being seen and being like understood for who you are. And it's,
and you've basically now created this business of just basically an extension of you.
Exactly.
Which is just the best type, because I think and probably why it's so successful, because when you're chasing the business or the paycheck or the wrong reasons, it doesn't land. Whereas with you, it's just who you are, and you're recording as you're feeling it. Mm-hmm. So it's incredible.
It's such a gift to be able to create a career or any kind of business out of something that you love, that you genuinely would be doing anyway.
Yeah.
And this has been so fun, because where everything else that I do, I also enjoy, from podcasting to blogging to everything else.
Yeah.
This, I would literally be doing anyway. I would be recording these for myself, if for nothing else. So why not release them to other people?
Definitely.
And then I was a little nervous, not nervous, but to launch it into the world, because you never know, one, how it's going to be received.
Yeah.
These are so special to me. Are people going to feel that way?
Yeah.
And also, it's just when something's so important to you, it's like so dear to your heart.
It's
I kind of held onto it for a few extra months and launched it on February 1st, which is 201 here too. I know you guys, I think it would be the flip side for UK. And that's my lucky number. And since then, it's been amazing to see how it's been received by people. Wow. It has been so beautiful, because I feel like the community that has been meant to be a part of it is being created.
Wow.
And these people are coming toward it and
embracing it.
They're here to change the world. Like, they got to hear this stuff, because they're here to change the world. And it's messages about that.
Yeah.
But a huge expander for me was you, because you created your membership and your beautiful, beautiful app, and just seeing you flourish and thrive and knowing your whole story from beginning to end. You've done the same thing. You've really instilled what is your energy, your personality, and your expertise, and made it into something so beautiful that impacts people.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really relate to you saying, well, I would be doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's a method that has healed you. And I feel the same. Yeah. I would be doing it and it's healed me. So it's really special. And we're so fortunate to be able to be doing this for our job. I mean, it's weird to even think that it is a job.
I know. It doesn't
Crazy,
feel
isn't
like
it?
one. I pinch myself. It just feels so right.
Yes.
And I think in life, when everything seems to be going wrong or everything seems to be going right.
Yeah.
And I think for
when
everybody,
you're in that state where things just feel like they're flowing very naturally and it's more easeful and calm, and that's when you and it works in everything, whether it's a relationship or a business. When you feel that calm energy, like everything is just going exactly the way it should be, that is when you're just living how you should be.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
But how did you, because I know and this is what I love about you, you're such a night owl, you're such a free flowing spirit without that structure. And I know from having the app that an app takes, or a platform takes so much structure, to be honest. How did you embrace that?
It's still hard for me. It's a lot of work. I mean, as much as we're talking about how it's like a blessing, it's amazing, we'd be doing it anyway.
The end product is what we would be doing. Yeah.
The work that goes into it is pretty next level.
Yeah.
And I was pretty prepared for that. But at the same time, you're never fully prepared for everything that comes up. But because I had been running the Balanced Blonde for so long, I have such amazing people who help me. Like, I knew for sure I need to hire someone for customer service before we launch.
Yeah.
Because personally, I'm too sensitive. I don't want to see negative reviews, which is fine. Like, I know people are going to feel all sorts of ways, but I'm not going to be able to help on the tech side of things. That is not where I thrive. No. So immediately I hired someone for customer service, and I have an amazing web developer, designer, support, which I think is so necessary. But at the same time, it's kind of a 24/7 thing.
It is.
Even Jonathan said to me a couple nights ago, because we were talking about, I've just been overwhelmed lately, and mostly because we have another baby coming so soon, just kind of trying to understand how I'm going to pass a lot of work off so that I can take time. And he's so funny. He was like, the quantum method is taking a lot of your energy. I'm like, I know, but that was the whole.
I can imagine the way he would say
it. He's like, do you know that? I'm like, of course I know that. But also, I was up for that. I was up for that and challenge. But I'm excited. And you can tell me if this is true. Yeah. Like, I feel like once you've had something up and running for long enough, it kind of takes its own momentum and then takes off in a way that maybe doesn't need as much daily maintenance from you. I'm hoping for that day.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but then there's other things that crop up. But
yes.
But typically you can kind of, like, on the tech side of things and the maintenance side, you can tweak and try and make it this well-oiled machine.
Yes.
So that you're not putting out fires every single day.
I'm going to have
maybe every other day.
Maternity leave. And maybe that's like the way that... So Jenna, our amazing friend, always tells me that one of the reasons
weird. As you said that, her name just popped up on my phone. She just messaged.
Jenna,
That's really
that is amazing.
Strange.
I mean, honestly, very tapped in, all of us, telepathically. She always tells me I'm here to do things differently and kind of show the world that things can be done differently. And I think that's true for a lot of us. But my plan is to really take a real maternity leave with my baby and believe and know that the quantum method is going to be a well-oiled machine and that it's possible to step away. And then it's possible to come back and have so much momentum and so much to give because you've allowed yourself to have that time.
Yeah.
So...
And it's so special, and you don't want to rush that or take any of those memories and that time away.
Totally. But I'm someone who really does. I kind of do work 24/7. I think.
Yeah, you're not someone that switches off.
No, my Achilles heel is being a workaholic, definitely.
Yeah, but it's also why you're just thriving. We only have a few more minutes to go, so I just want to get some quick fire questions in. So what would you say has been your top 3 healing practices?
That is so good. Definitely meditations and mirror work. Like speaking to myself through the soul gazing. Yeah. Number 2, psychedelics, even though we could do a whole episode on the pros and cons and how to know if someone's ready and which psychedelics I would recommend over others. But those have been so key in my healing. And then the third one, it's so simple. And it's grounding, being in nature. I once had this amazing Lyme doctor tell me, if you just walk with your feet in the sand by the ocean every day, and I'm lucky enough to live pretty close to the ocean, you will heal. And you'll still be managing a sensitive body, but you will not notice that you're sick anymore because you will start to feel so good. So I took that advice and it has changed my life.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
What's the one book that's changed your life?
Oh my gosh. Definitely Louise Hay. You Can Heal Your Life. That's like the cornerstone of my life. I read it all the time and she's such a huge
book.
Inspiration.
All of her books are amazing.
Yes.
And what is the one piece of business advice you would give someone?
Just start, because you're never going to feel ready. And just starting and getting it into the world is all it needs. And then you can fine tune it once you get there. You can start and it can be all over the place. And you'll find the right support. You'll find the right people. And you'll, just don't let the fear hold you back.
Yes, for sure. And don't create excuses for yourself.
Exactly. Because we've all done that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh,
this was so fun.
You were an amazing interviewer. I cannot wait to tune into every single episode.
Thank you.
You're the
so
best.
much.
I love you so much.
Love you.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
We can also do a quantum method code for your listeners if you want.
Yes, please.
What should we make it?
You tell me.
We can do your name, or we could do the name of your podcast. Whatever's easy. Should we do like Bryony 10?
Bryony, yeah.
Or Bryony.
Whatever you think. You choose.
Okay, let's make it easy. Let's just do Bryony. And this will get everybody a really nice discount off of the quantum method. And we would love to see you guys in there.
I am seriously signing up on the way home.
It goes really well with Pilates. I always do my movement, and then I follow it up with some affirmations and some pep talks and that kind of stuff.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. And where can everyone find you?
You can find me on The Balanced Blonde on Instagram, and also The Balanced Blonde podcast, which you've been an amazing guest on, and you'll be back again soon. And the quantum method.co.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my love.